everyone, it's Sevi. Now that a lot of Genshin players have gotten to try out and enjoy Yelan, I want to talk more about some new Yelan teams that have been making a splash, specifically the double Hydro teams. Hydro options used to be quite limited considering Hydro was a premium element for reactions. But now as the roster grows, we're getting more options and flexibility for our Hydro teams. Now, we all know Xingqiu is a very in-demand character for many teams, and thankfully, Yelan's arrival helps us enable two Spiral Abyss teams that would both need a Xingqiu. Yelan and Xingqiu are quite interchangeable, save for a few specific teams, so if you wanted Yelan team suggestions, just look at the options for Xingqiu's. However, if he just happens to be free to team up with Yelan, whether in the overworld or abyss, they actually work pretty well together. And while pairing them both seems redundant and Hydro resonance isn't particularly desirable as of now, there are some interesting results from such a comp. With similar levels of investment, Yelan can potentially deal as much off-field Hydro damage as a C6 Xingqiu, and she performs the same role of enabling Hydro reactions, albeit having less Hydro application at C0 than Xingqiu. So we can double down on their Hydro damage and application. By having two Xingqiu-like units, it's like you're getting at least twice the damage of Xingqiu, which is always a good thing. This then helps fix C0 Yelan's lack of Hydro application in teams that need it too. Xingqiu's C2 Hydro resistance shred, if unlocked, also helps out Yelan's damage here. This Hydro duo with both of them is highly single target focused, which has good value in certain situations. For example, in the current Abyss, it's very winnable because of the single enemy boss lineup on floor 12. Xingqiu and Yelan are also energy hungry units. Conventionally, Xingqiu was often used as the sole Hydro unit in the team, which meant that you'd need to build so much ER on him and or use a sacrificial sword. Yelan also needs a lot of energy, which players have to account for more if she's the only Hydro on the team. Together, they help battery one another, so ER issues are reduced. So in this video, I want to showcase some of the best teams that feature this double Hydro pair in particular. What are we waiting for? Let's get into it. Quick disclaimer that these teams are meant to provide options. In no way does showcasing these teams mean that you should just use them over other existing viable or meta options. If you ask why not just use X character, my response to that is sure, why not? The point is to provide variety in gameplay and potential team alternatives if a player does not have certain characters. First up is a reverse vaporize team that consists of a Pyro DPS, Xingqiu, Yelan, and a flex slot. In this team, Hu Tao, Yanfei, or Klee need the continuous Hydro application to vape their normal and charged attack combos, which Yelan has difficulty doing alone. Having Xingqiu with Yelan solves the problem while dealing and applying double the Hydro damage, so you can help your Pyro DPS get in as many reverse vapes as possible. Though Yoimiya or Diluc can work with Yelan alone since she keeps up with their Pyro application, it's also not a bad idea to use them in this comp. And universally, Yelan's passive gives the active character a damage bonus buff, which helps a lot with boosting your Pyro DPS's damage. The last slot depends on your preferences and available options. Use Zhongli or another shielder if you need the protection and comfort. In particular, Zhongli's preferable with Hu Tao since he allows you to better manage Hu Tao's HP loss and Yoimiya to avoid getting staggered at all. An Anemo can also work, though they'll most likely be shredding Hydro than Pyro resistance, and only if you can forgo the comfort of a shield. The rotations are very generally straightforward. It's just a matter of getting both Xingqiu and Yelan's bursts up before your Pyro DPS takes the field and drives both their bursts' damage. As for the fourth character, where they'll be inserted in the rotation depends on their utility and cooldowns. Up next is the Yelan National Double Hydro. The national team has gone through lots of iterations, and Yelan's arrival has brought forth yet again new ones. While you could replace Xingqiu with Yelan, you could also instead keep Xingqiu with Bennett and Xiangling, then make Yelan the fourth member. If you're a fan of Kazuha or Sucrose National, you might be wondering whether or not it's worth missing out on their buffs for another Hydro off-field DPS. While it's true that the loss of a VV Anemo user means you don't get the elemental resistance shred, the idea is to compensate that damage loss with having 2 times of Xingqiu's damage by using using Yelan with him, especially in the case of single target damage. Replacing your Anemo unit with Yelan also allows you to think less about buffs and debuffs and just focus on setting up your off-field damage dealers, making rotations easier to manage. This team features strong single target damage and has lots of hydro application to set up many vapes. If you want to take this a step further, you can even put Bennett on a vape DPS build so he can do some nice reaction damage too. For our third team, we have a double Hydro Taser team, and I included two variations. The first consists of Yelan, Xingqiu, Fischl, and an Anemo. Fischl is superb as a single target DPS since she doesn't have much ER issues even without another Electro teammate, and her cooldowns line up well in this rotation. Even better if she has C6, so she can apply more Electro as the only Electro member in the team. While Beidou was already a strong unit in a meta Taser team, she doesn't outdo Yelan when it comes to single target damage, which this Taser team can now specialize in. Apply Hydro and Electro so Anemo can VV debuff, and apply any buffs they have on your teammate at the start of the rotation. Sucrose can be your on-field driver since she can continuously swirl and spread around the Hydro and Electro, or Yelan can drive as well if you want someone tanky. This second variation now features Raiden instead of an Anemo. In this case, Raiden helps a lot with the team's ER needs, buffs everyone's burst damage, and is a good driver since she's uninterruptible. Plus, with the Electro Resonance activated, you get just a bit more energy generation. Overall, this team has amazing single target damage, good energy management, and a smooth, simple rotation. The fourth team is an unlikely team comp of Xiao with Yelan and Xingqiu plus a flex slot. Now, you might be thinking, isn't Xiao geared for a plunging attack playstyle while Yelan and Xingqiu need normal attacks to proc their bursts? Well, there is a technique where if you press normal attack on Xiao but cancel it fast enough with his jump, then he'll still proc their hydro projectiles while spending very little animation time on his normal attack. Doing it fast enough will still feel like he's doing plunging attack combos continuously, but you're still proccing the hydro damage. Together, Yelan and Xingqiu buff and support Xiao as well. Yelan with her damage bonus buff passive, which complements Xiao's new artifact set, Vermilion Hereafter, which stacks lots of attack, and Xingqiu with his rain swords for damage reduction, resistance to interruption, and some healing. This Xiao team is even more viable on single target bosses thanks to the two single target hydros complementing Xiao's AoE oriented playstyle. The only major consideration is that Xiao may have ER issues if you don't make the fourth character an Anemo to battery him like Jean. Having a second Anemo and VV user helps in boosting the Hydro unit's damage by shredding Hydro resistance, given that Xiao himself cannot do so. Unlike in the Xiao double Anemo double Geo comp, wherein a second Anemo VV user does not boost damage, this time they will be able to boost Hydro damage. Favonius users on this team will further help in batterying Xiao. Next, since we have two strong Hydro off-field DPSs now, the freeze template can be switched up to double Cryo, double Hydro. Ganyu, unfortunately, is not the right Cryo DPS for this job since she relies on charged attacks, so some character pairings here include Ayaka plus Rosaria or Kaya plus Rosaria. You can opt for Diona or Chongyun who bring their own utilities, but these are less potent choices in terms of damage. Though Xingqiu and Yelan specialize in single target damage, at least having Ayaka, Rosaria, or Kaya adds AoE cryo application and damage. It's also key that as you're swapping from unit to unit, you're constantly inserting normal attacks to proc Yelan's and Xingqiu's Hydro. And last but not least, you've heard of Mono Pyro, Mono Electro, Mono Geo, and even Mono Cryo, and now we have enough Hydro units for this. If you really want to get wet, then go for a mono Hydro team consisting of Xingqiu plus Yelan and Ayato. Xingqiu with his C2 can shred Hydro resistance to favor the rest of his Hydro teammates, while Yelan's passive buffs Ayato's on-field window. Combined, all the raw hydro damage you get from this team is really quite the deluge. It's highly preferable to place an Anemo VV user as the 4th member, since everyone else benefits from the VV resistance shred. Kazuha in particular would be the top damage option, since everyone also benefits from the hydro damage buff he can give. The rotation here is pretty flexible, since you don't have to think much about reactions, and just want all off-field damage and buffs to be set up for Ayato before he goes Xingqiu. Just try not to get your HP too low if you don't have a dedicated healer or shielder in the flex slot. And those are some fun yet strong Xingqiu and Yelan teams to try. I do appreciate the rotation simplicity of having another Xingqiu-like unit, especially one as cool as Yelan, and I'm excited to see what other comps Genshin players come up with down the line. Comment below if you've tried any of these comps, or which other Yelan Xingqiu comps you've been enjoying. If this video helped you out, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel for more Genshin Impact guides and content, and I will see you all soon. Take care!